up, guys? Time to show off some new builds going to new customers. We've got our first responders builds. We've got 4 of them that are identical. We've got one that is identical for 90% of it. So let's go over one of them. Let's see. Let's pick this one. So what we've got, we have a custom lasered dial. So lasered the dial. Everything that is in the darker gray is what's been lasered down in the steel. And then what's raised was slightly lasered, but it wasn't lasered for reduction. It was just lasered to just kind of give it a finish. So custom lasered dial. We did it in a brushed case. We did a small coin bezel. I had some titanium scandi inserts, and the nice thing with these is since there's no referencing on the dial itself outside of, you got your 12, 3, 6, 9 quadrants there. This shows your minute ticks, and then on each hour you have a reference to the hour and the minute going around. So brush crown, low profile exhibition casebacks, got a little signed rotor in there. And then this is on a brushed engineered band. Little BVW here on the clasp. And then each one of these is personalized to the person. So not really to show off too much personal info in there, but we did those on each one. So each person will have their info custom lasered across on the clasps. And that's something that I've done before for a customer. The reason being is, there's only so much room out here. And this, I always kind of put the theme of the watch right here. I would reference like what the theme was. If it was like a radioactive build or a Kraken build, I'd put it across the top. And then down here. So if you're putting somebody's last name, if you do a last name, that's kind of cool. You can just put it on there. But when you want to put a little bit more detail on them, you have the option of doing a solid case back, which is something similar to this. This is one that I have spare that I put like a scratch in it somewhere. Yeah, so I just did one little spare pile for me to keep myself. But you can do something across there. That's an option. Or we've been doing them inside the clasp down here, which is very cool. So for all you new customers, so going over the watch, the bezels on these will move left, they'll move right. These are not click style bezels. So a lot of times you'll have like probably 95% of watches will have a click bezel where, specifically for dive style, if you're wanting to indicate when you go down for like air, for scuba, you would turn this here and it would lock, it would stay, and you would know when your air's running out if you've got 15 minutes or 20 minutes just based on putting this somewhere. So this obviously is not set up for that because you can move it back and forth. But these are tension ring bezels, which means they're just held on with pressure. And pressure this way, pressure this way. So they're decently tight, but they are ones that you can move both directions. I did a set of my silver Moldova hands in there, which is what I refer to them because that's where I get them from. Just for future, just for referencing on what those are. Screwed on crowns. Adjustments to the band. So for all you guys, I'll probably include some adjustment tools, but essentially you need a punch and you need to not block the other end down here. So you see the direction it says these go down. When you pop these pins out, it's basically a piece of metal that's folded over on itself like a really thin U. Well, the top of that U has a bit of, it's one to open out. And it has little tabs on the side, so you never want to put it in the wrong direction or force it through the wrong way, because if you would hammer that down, you would get it stuck. So since this is a push down, that means on this end where you see where it looks like a little screw head, that's those two pieces just coming together. It looks like a screw head, but it's not. So if you would tap this the other direction and go down, you would definitely get it stuck right here. So you tap the end that is tapered, it's down in the hole. You have a recessed area. That's so that you can put the punch in there and you just tap it out. And you'll just pull it out the other side. Now when you put it back, you'll put it back the same way. You'll put it you'll put the tapered in. You'll put the end that is rounded in first. Kind of walk it in by finger, making sure everything's aligned, and then it's going to stop about 2 millimeters up, and you'll just tap that back down, and that's literally all it is. So when you want to do an adjustment on this, you'll tap one out, you'll tap another one out, you'll take out 2 links. For me, I'm a 5 link guy that I have to take out, so is it 5 or 4? So I always do 2 on one end and 2 on the other so that you can kind of keep this still in the center. Otherwise it might look a little odd, be off to the side here, like that. So, and then these are opposite. When you tap out this side, you can see that these are right here. This is the recessed side. These go back out that side. But you've got your direction on there, so it tells you what direction to do it. Just do the opposite going back in. And then you have a micro adjustment here. So these are compression, just like toilet paper holder. Just use that same tool that you push down here. You can push that in and you can walk it over to this next one right here. Then you would do the same on this end. Walk it. It's pretty difficult to just pop it out and then pop it into the center of there. But going from here to here is, I believe, is it a full link? It's either a full link or a half link. I don't remember how they measure that because it's technically from this to this, and that is not the same gap from here to here. It is not the same gap from here to here. So I think it's pushing about a half. So you can make that adjustment there as well. It's a double lock clasp. You have a fold over clasp, and this is a push. And back down. That's all how that works if you have not experienced that. So these are automatic mechanicals, each one of them are. That means you can put them in a watch winder, you can wear them to keep time. You've got a rotor in the back that moves. You can see as you move, this right here spins. That is winding your watch. So what you want to do before you put it on is wind it just a little bit, just to make sure that you're keeping time throughout the day. Because if you just back it out and set your time and put it on, if you're not moving that around, you are not keeping consistent time. So you want to pre-wind it just a little bit before you put it on. And how you do that is you're going to back the crown off the threads until you hear it and feel it clicking. You'll also see there's a little bit of play. You see you're off that crown tube, you're off those threads, and you hear it clicking. Okay, at that point you can wind. And a wind is turning it away from you. Turning it towards you does not wind it, but I am a back and forth winder. The reason I do that is if I just single wind this way, a lot of times I start screwing it back on to the threads, and then I got to back it off anyway. So since going backwards doesn't hurt it, I just go back and forth. And then if I start doing that, I can put a little tension on it. I can kind of put my fingernail or my fingers against it to keep it just right off that tube. You hear it clicking. So doing that for 4 or 5 seconds will keep time throughout the day. That mixed with your rotor movement. But if you know you're going to be driving, sitting at a desk, not doing a lot of like where that can really kind of teeter and keep your wind, just go ahead and do it for another 10 seconds or so. You've got a 31-hour power reserve on it. So if you sit here and you wind this thing out for 10-15 seconds, I guess, and you set it down, it should run for about 31 hours. That's the spec from the manufacturer. Typically when I wind these and I let them go and just let them run, they run somewhere in that 35 to 36 hours. So, meaning you can set your watch down, chances are the next day you can pick it up and put it right on and go about your business. But it never hurts to do a few little winds on it. So that said, when you're happy with your winding, you're going to pull it to the 1 and only click. And you can see that your second hand still moves. On a lot of watches, when you pull that out, that will stop. That's called a hacking movement. This is not a hacking movement. It's going to keep going. And then at that point, you can wind it. Or I'm sorry, you can set your time. Now that's where this bezel is going to come into play. Just make sure you're aligned, at 12 or 3. Especially if it's not 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock, something easy for you to just pick right out. Okay, Google, what time is it? 3:48 p.m. You're going to push it over, get it out of that time setting, just push it back over to where it's kind of touching those crown tubes, and then screw it down. That's it. That's that watch. This watch will be the same as this watch, which still shows it's 3:48. Wind the same way, set your time, all the same. Everything's set up exactly the same. Now, where we differ is on our ladies' build over here. So this is a polished case, not a brushed. So you have a nice polished case. This is 18 millimeter lugs rather than 22. And this is on a Milanese band. Everything else is the same, except you're in a polished case. So with these, if you would get a scratch in this or this, you can use the green side of a Scotch-Brite and fix it. So if you ever get something on this clasp right here, like let's say we get a little lines on here, sometimes just from the, see if there's a way for me to open this without showing off. Here we go. What I do is I open it up all the way and I just do single passes. So especially if you're sitting at a desk, you can get little lines in or something like that. Just do single passes one direction, okay? It's the same way on this band. If you get something in there, get it kind of roll up where you want and just do single passes. If you go back and forth, you start getting lines back and forth in it, okay? So you don't want to do that. You're going to get, you can brush them back in. Essentially, you still have the scratch, but you're blending it in where you don't really see it anymore, okay? And then if you do it on the case, I put you on quick disconnects, which you just push this little lever down, pops right off. It's a compression. So when you put it back in, you want to put your one side in the hole, which is easier said than done, through a camera. I keep a little pressure there. Make sure it's down in the hole. And see that tab's still up until you push this, slides down, you realign. So you can take your band completely off, which is what you want to do. Let's say you did something here, because you want to do like pushed rounded, and if you have this up, you're going to start putting the lines in that, right? So on the side of the case, you just go straight over to brush it back in, just straight. These you want to kind of do rounded. So easy maintenance on those four. On the polished, you don't have that option. I'm going to give you what's called a Cape Cod cloth. And we'll be in here. It looks like this. When you cut it open, these smell delicious. You just want to cut off a tiny square and you just polish with it. And you'll polish out any kind of scratch or anything along those lines. So just an FYI. So I'll set that over here because this goes with that watch. So polished, this is a Milanese band. What's really cool with this Milanese band, you also have the quick disconnects just like everybody else. Might be hard for me to show this off without, yeah, it's going to be almost impossible for me to show this off. But you have a mechanism right here that you can move. So let me see, is there a way for me to show this off? Okay, it is. So pretty simple. You lift this and you can now slide. Reset it. And then you have a new adjustment. So once you figure out what your wrist size is, it's all you're going to do. Pop this open, slide, put it back on, put it on your wrist. Is that tight enough? It's not tight enough. Just open it up, slide it just a little bit up, put that back down, and that's it. So you set this once, you're good. They have to remove links, then they're good, But this one, you can make slight adjustments like right on the fly. Oh, it's a little too tight right now. Or, maybe you're wearing beads or something on there and you want higher up on your wrist or lower on your wrist. You can make that adjustment in real time. So this watch is the same. Everything is exactly the same. The crown on this one is a little bit different. This is has just a different style crown. This is kind of tapered. This kind of comes out and has a cool little flat spot on it that's milled. But everything is exactly the same. Same rotor in the back. Just basically a different band and a different case. Same bezel. And that is that build. So those are the builds. that's going over pretty much everything anybody could have a question on. And that's the same if you watch any of the other videos that I have. I kind of go through that fairly quickly. But, you know, most of these guys who are getting it are definitely watch guys. I don't know if you guys getting it are watch guys. And that's okay. If you're not watch guys, not a big deal. But that's how you make those adjustments. You can make those adjustments yourself. With me, every watch I do matching beads. If you're not into beads, you don't have to wear them. They complement them really well. You can always give them to the wife to wear. There's a smaller set in here to go with the ladies' build. But matching beads. These are all going to come in BVW Special Edition Silver-esque stained boxes. Nice plaid pillows inside. And I'll probably put your adjustment tools in there. I think there's like 2 adjustment tools, but in a nutshell, you basically need a punch and a tiny hammer. There's one that's like you can kind of like set it up and kind of screw it, and it can like as a pressure push. Some of these places that offer me these things give those things to me, so I'll stick them in there. If you guys use them, great. If you don't, whatever. I basically use a little tiny punch. It's just you guys are probably familiar with a punch, but these ones, instead of it being like a tapered like what you would normally see with like nails and such, these just have a big shaft, and then they have a little thin like needle shaft, and because you can run that down into it, you know, about half that length. So you guys might not have something like that, but you can probably take that tool that I'm giving you and just use the other end and hammer it down in there. But it'll be in there either way. These watches will all come with watch cleaner. Actually, I'm going to give you the foamer, not this spray. It's a foam. A little bit will go a long way. You'll put a tiny bit on it, and that's all you'll need. But you'll have a foamer in there instead of a spray. But this is good for all glass and metal parts. So this watch as a whole, all these watches as a whole, and it will come wrapped in a microfiber. And then you'll also have some fine scratch remover. Now, what this is for is your acrylic glass. So this isn't sapphire mineral glass. This is an acrylic plastic glass. It's very durable, very hard. It's set up for you to, if you scuff it or scratch it, be able to just buff it out. So you'll put a tiny bit of this on it, on that scratch, and then you'll buff it with your included and color matching to that Novus. This is Novus 2. It's that I get from Amazon, but it's basically like Polywatch, if you're familiar with Polywatch. You'll just put a tiny bit of this on it, and you'll buff it out using this, which, like I said, matches color. If the scratch is up and down, just go left and right, kind of fill in it, haze it, and buff it out. If it's still there, or it's just a little bit lighter, wait a little bit, let that solidify. You're kind of building back that acrylic up, and you're filling in that scratch. So you kind of want it to solidify. It doesn't take too long. And then just revisit it and do it again. So, but that's it. That's only for the acrylic. That's not for anything else. Everything else is, like I mentioned on this. And then for her watch, the Cape Cod cloth. So don't use the Cape Cod cloth as a whole. Cut a little square out. You just need a tiny bit, and you just need to rub it back and forth for like a minute. Then it'll look like it's dirty, which is kind of weird to me every time, because even brand new watches do that. Just flip it over and use the other side. And then if you don't get it, use your microfiber or whatever, clean it up a little bit. Actually, I'll probably give you 2 microfibers, one to use with this and one to use with just cleaning your watch in general. Because I don't know if you're going to get residue on there, where like when you go to clean your watch, now you're wiping like some Cape Cod cloth polish on your watch again, So I'll put 2 in there for you. Then if you need more, cut off another little square. And then put this in a baggie. You want to kind of keep that moisture in there. But you definitely do not use the whole thing. This will last you your whole watch. And if you ever need Cape Cod, I buy them in this tin. It's good for your polished watches. You get 5 of these. Sometimes you can get more of them, but it's basically just a metal polish. And then I give those out for anybody who gets a polished watch. More often than not, I give brushed watches because they're easy to maintenance. And I don't have to do a lot of polishing when I buy brand new product that comes to me already slightly damaged or fix it. These if there's a slight scratch, I can fix it right away. Whereas those I'm polishing for a while, and then it's making me look over the whole watch and making me real anxious to use it. So, so more often than not, I'm doing brushed watches. But those are the builds. I hope you guys like them. If you want me to build you something for your company, reach out, see what we can do. If you ever need like leather bands or anything like this stuff, let me know. I even have nice little extension, like can snap back in here and have nice, you know, brown leather, dark gray leather, black, something that will go with them nicely. So if you ever need anything like that, feel free to reach out. And if you want me to make you something custom and unique, reach out and I'll see what I can do. And if you want to continue to see videos like this, like and subscribe, 'cause I do them all the time. Thanks, guys.